case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Somebody's telling me the Carolina Panthers, who we were alluding to in that segment with Ben Gessling, actually have a better record than the Purple. I'll have to double check that.
Pretty sure they do. Aren't they 5-4?
That would mean a better record. You're right. Wow. I got to stop disparaging and just assuming that the Carolina Panthers are bad this year because they've been bad other years. 5-4. Yeah, that's better than us.
5-5.
5-5.
They're still better.
Okay, so they played one more game.
Correct.
But that's still a better record, and we're sitting there at we're at 4-5 right now. Correct.
That is correct.
All right, a mini top 5 at 5, and again, I guess we shouldn't be surprised, but there's more Minnesota Wild injury news.
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
Who is it now?
Well, this particular person is officially on the injured reserve as of an hour ago.
That's
week
lovely.
to week with a lower body injury. It's one of my favorites, Marco Rossi. So that changes everything as far as...
I should start calling him Rossi again or something. I don't know.
Or Rossi? I can't roll my R's.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm Spanish. That's what's embarrassing.
Yeah.
My daughter can. I can't.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it.
Anyway, whatever.
So
what happened to him? A lower body? That's
lower body injury. Week to week.
Injured list is how long? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's week to week. Doesn't look good. And
man, it's amazing. Yeah. We were just talking about injuries. Everybody has them, but I do feel like in hockey we have them more than most teams. Do we? Or is it just the nature?
I think it's just the nature of the game.
I think it is. I think it's also we probably can't afford them as much as some teams. Right?
Well, that's the real kicker.
That's the thing. If we have more depth, it would not matter. So we got a matinee game tomorrow. It's 5 Anaheim,
o'clock.
right? Tomorrow night, 5:00.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And here's the lines, in case you're wondering, because Rossi was the top line. So Hartman gets vaulted up to the first line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. Eck centers the second line with Boldy and Johansson.
Okay.
My guy, because I always champion the young players, Danila Yurov centering Tarasenko and Hinostroza. So not a bad little opportunity
Has
for him
Tarasenko
there.
scored yet?
I want to say he has at least once, maybe twice.
Okay.
And then people who haven't scored yet, Ben Jones centering the fourth line with Foligno and Trenyon. So opportunity, and then Zeev gets put back on the top power play unit as well. The other news coming out of today.
And how do we feel about, because we talked to Russo about this yesterday, the analytics say, obviously, it's hard to not get excited about his offense, but that his plus-minus is not very impressive if we believe the significance of plus-minus in hockey, which I think was the first sport that really accentuated the plus-minus, and the others kind of copied it later. So what's the yin and the yang of it? Or do you have to sort of live with that until he figures some stuff out on the defensive side of being a defenseman?
For Zeev?
Yes.
I think you just have to live with it.
I agree.
Because again, this is what other teams do. We're seeing it all across the NHL. You're seeing it with the Sharks and the Blackhawks. And I understand, well, would you rather trade places with them?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they're on a better trajectory right now.
That's the problem.
So they could pass us at any point in time. So you take your lumps now, you build them in the NHL, and you go forward. So I would just roll with it. And Zeev, he's got the potential. The sky's the limit for him.
Yes, no question about that.
Wolves, they play tonight. It is an NBA Cup game against the Kings at home, 7 o'clock. It's on the Timberwolves app, thanks to Gophers kicking off on a Friday in Oregon. So Kings, Timberwolves, Target Center, your thoughts?
Kings are a mess right now. There's talk that they're ready to, basically gut the team if they can make a deal for, let's say, a Ja Morant. That's the kind of team that where it probably makes more sense to roll the dice on a volatile personality like Ja, because you got nothing to lose. When you got nothing to lose, you say, well, it'll either be feast or famine. It'll either be the best move we ever made and will energize the program, or it'll be a disaster. And how's that any different than what we are right now? The Wolves have done a good job in this stretch of taking care of crappy teams. I'm not going to belittle that in this case because they've had a tendency to play down to those teams. So that has value. I think we're going to learn a lot more about them tomorrow night against the Denver Nuggets, and more on that coming up after the top 5 at 5. There's a lot of interesting tentacles to that story and even a broader discussion about the current condition in the Western Conference. So Edwards has come back. He had that one crappy game back. I think it was against the Knicks off the injury. Speaking of plus minus, where he's like minus 28 or something. Since then, he's been really, really good. He's really been locked in. He's the guy, frankly, who's handling the ball more than anybody. And I still like the way Randall is playing. I think offensively they look really, really good right now. The question is, as the competition gets ratcheted up, what do you show there? So we'll get a better handle in the next couple of weeks because we're going to start playing some better teams. NBA Cup, again, I don't mind it. I think, do we have the same green court? We had a green court for our first game that was very green. I don't know what
yes,
it was like extremely green. I'm not a stickler of the court's got to be, they can be really conservative and all that, hardwood. But that one didn't particularly excite me. But maybe we could. I think we're 1-0 in our division in the Cup standings, if I'm not mistaken. I think we're 1-0. So
that is correct.
We are in a position to obviously continue to give ourselves a chance to compete for the Cup.
I want to say it's the Prince game. So purple court.
Oh, you're right. So the green was the last one, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's. Oh no, isn't the purple court tomorrow night?
Oh, it is tomorrow.
I think tomorrow night.
Right.
Yeah,
I got my days mixed up.
That's the tomorrow night's not an NBA Cup game, I don't think. But you're right, though. I think tomorrow night's the purple. You got to have different. See, that's how it is in 2000. Yeah. The sport itself's not good enough.
Yes.
You got to have the bells, and apparently you got to have the whistles as well. You're 100% right.
The Fan and 2-Minute Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks to the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is deposit this hour. Keyword deposit. KFAN.com. Keyword deposit.
Lavelle in about 15 minutes. Couple thoughts on the rich getting richer. That's next. Lavelle coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes. And then, as I mentioned, we're out at 6 o'clock today for Gopher Football Saturday on a Friday night. The pregame show will start at 6 o'clock on the flagship, FM 100.3 The Fan. I'm sure available via the iHeartRadio app as well. Gophers, what was the spread? Last I saw it was like 27 or 28 points, something along those lines. The Ducks favored. Double check the latest lines, if you would, Brett Blakemore. All the action tonight on the Fan. Oh, I forgot. What am I talking about? Gaardsy. I'm the idiot. It's Gaardsy time. How could I forget the producer of the show? Well, according to Gerbschmidt, it's easy. He accused you of not wanting to be a part of the show anymore. Your thoughts?
Well, after you just forgot me, maybe I should feel that way.
Well, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should feel that way. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to think about it.
That's a very good point.
Maybe I'll have to think about it.
Well,
that's all right.
He didn't have, usually what the producer's supposed to do is on the sheet here, go Gaardsy line 8 or whatever, or not in this case line 8, but somewhere. So, and you know how my mind works. I'm racing ahead. I'm so in love with Joker right now. I'm willing to forget about everything else to get more Joker stats in because this guy. That's who we got, of course, as you know, Saturday night. And Denver's 9-2, man. And he's playing. How many times has he won the MVP? I mean, he's playing at an above MVP level right now. I mean, he's shooting. The number I had yesterday was in his last 10 games alone, from the field, he's shooting 73%. I mean, it's crazy. Right. It's just nuts.
But he's never seen the Prince Court. He's never had to play on the Prince Court, which he's going to play on tomorrow.
What's
so we'll see how it goes tomorrow with the Prince Court? Any
rain tonight in Corvallis? No, not Corvallis. Is Oregon State. I always want to say Corvallis for some reason. Eugene?
No, it was in the forecast all week, and it was actually supposed to rain today, kind of while you and I were doing Enough Said when I was standing outside. It didn't rain then. It always looks like it's going to. That's what I've learned. It always kind of feels like it's going to, but nothing. I was just talking with someone in the press box, and they said, I think we're going to get lucky tonight with no rain, which is good, obviously, which is preferred for the sideline reporter. But it's been nice. It's been good weather out here. It's been cool. It's a little cloudy. It's a little cool right now, but it's a nice day up here.
Is this the first game you've covered at that stadium?
Yeah, I've never been to Eugene ever.
People talk about it as a top 5, home field advantage stadium. Is it? I mean, I saw, obviously, Indiana play there and find a way to win against Oregon, and it looked certainly very hostile. Looked like it was very enthusiastic. Is that legit? Is it rightly called top 5 when it comes to difficult opposing places to play in college football right now?
I would let you know after the game
Yeah.
how I took it, but everybody's told me the environment is unbelievable. And what's interesting about it is there's only 54,000 seats. It's really probably the same size as Huntington Bank Stadium, but people say that it feels like a lot more.
Okay.
And they've had 12 unbeaten seasons in this stadium at home. And obviously they're not going to do that this year because Indiana came out here earlier in the year, the Hoosiers, and beat them. But I do think it's really loud. It doesn't feel that imposing. I'm just kind of staring out over it now. It's just kind of your run-of-the-mill average college football stadium, like a lot of these kind of look. But they say it gets really loud in here, and the numbers speak for themselves. They've had good teams, obviously, forever, so that's part of it. But I've heard it's really, really loud, so I'm looking forward to hearing it.
All right, so what are you hearing on – I mean, Oregon – when I've seen them, I think they're obviously very good. I don't think I've come away from several of the games thinking like, my God, they're Ohio State or they're unstoppable. But it does strike me, at least in terms of the stats, that one of their strengths is they're very balanced. In other words, they're a very they may not be a great offensive team, they're a very good offensive team. They may not be a great defensive team, but they're a very good defensive team. That it's the balance that is what makes them so effective.
I think for people, too, that are just checking in on Oregon for the first time, you assume it's going to be like the Chip Kelly Oregon, where they're just all about trick plays and crazy offensive schemes and going up and down the field in 9 seconds. They are not like that at all. Dan Lanning's like a defensive guy by trade. He was the coordinator at Georgia before he got the job up here. And what I don't think people understand is how physical they are. And just look at the Iowa game a week ago where they basically out-Iowa'd Iowa in Iowa City and ran the ball for 250 yards. They've had 3 games with over 200 yards rushing this year, and it's not because guys are breaking 80-yard runs just because they're faster than everybody. They are super, super physical. And I'll be curious what they do tonight offensively because they're completely battered in the wide receiver.
That's what Chip Scott
wide receivers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they didn't play last week, and we don't know if they're going to play this week, but there was a report earlier today that they're not expected to play. So I think you're going to see them probably try to do the same recipe as they did a week ago and just run, a place where the Gophers have kind of been inconsistent stopping this season. So that would be my guess is how they play it. And then when they need to throw, they throw. And Dante Moore is a really good quarterback. He's a former 5-star guy, but they're not slinging it around 50 times. It's not like that at all. Well,
what you just the answer you just gave might render my next question moot, but I'm going to ask it anyway because – what I thought happened in the second half of the Indiana-Oregon game there, especially was the Indiana line of scrimmage, especially defensively, had Oregon flummoxed. The QB, this 5-star QB, looked very mortal, especially the second half. They did almost nothing in the second half. They got great pressure on him. Are we capable of getting some pressure, or is it even a game where we're going to say, we're loading up, we're going to start sending people? Worst case scenario is we get burned, but what do we have to lose?
Exactly. And the Gophers actually, if they don't lead the Big Ten in sacks, they're right up there in sacks. It's crazy that their defense a lot of times either sacks the quarterback or gives up a big play.
Right.
They've been pretty – and you're right about the Indiana game. That was probably Moore's worst game. He was sacked 6 times there. In that game, and that clearly got to him. And reading some things this week, that was probably his worst game. And they have a young offensive line. That's what's interesting. They're, I think, starting 4 freshmen on the offensive line. That was earlier in the season. I think they struggled a little bit and have found their form here. And obviously, Indiana's probably the best team that they've played, so credit to them too. But I think they found their form here in the last month or so, and these young offensive linemen are playing super well. But yeah, to answer your question, I would expect that the Gophers do try to get super aggressive when he drops back to pass because you can't, even with the wide receivers being down to 6, 7, 8, 9 in their room, you got it. You can't just let him sit back there.
Who's going to be our number 1 running back tonight?
I think Darius is going to give it a shot.
Okay,
is what I keep hearing. I think Darius is going to be back. And if it's not him, then it's Femi Ijiboy, the redshirt freshman. But I had heard this week that there was some good indications. Bernsey was saying there were some good indications that he was healthy enough to play, and he's obviously by far and away their number 1 probably offensive option besides Drake Lindsey. So hopefully it's Darius, but if not, it'll be Femi Ijiboy.
What do we think of our receivers this season?
Not great.
Yeah.
not great, sporadic, inconsistent. Jalen Smith, the freshman from Mankato, started the season really strong. He dealt with an injury. He hasn't really done much since then. Lemeke Brockington, the senior, has probably been their best one. He's the one that caught the critical passes last week or 2 weeks ago, the third down pass. He's who Drake was going to when they got the pass interference in overtime. Javon Tracy's been okay. It's kind of up and down, but if you look at the Pro Football Focus numbers, which you know I love, they're not good on 50-50 balls. They're not good in contested catches, and they have to deal with a lot of them, which means that they're not getting separation. So that's, I think, the biggest thing moving forward is they have to probably upgrade that position, especially if you're a heck like Drake who wants to throw it a lot. But I just think they've been okay. I think Lemeke's been good. I think Jalen Smith as a young guy's been okay. I think at times Tracy's been okay, but probably not good enough. Their tight ends have been pretty good. That's why you've seen Drake go there a lot. But I think it's just an average group that has had, some good moments.
Does Oregon remain close to a lock for the national championship tournament, or not so much? I've kind of lost track of that.
Well, they're ranked 8th, I think, going into tonight.
Okay.
Yes, and you look at, they've got USC next week, which is a big game.
That's a tough
USC
game.
has Iowa this weekend at home. Yep, exactly. And at Washington, their big rival, who has put together a nice season too. So if they win out, they would be a lock. If they had another loss, then things might get a little bit interesting. And they're also, everybody's used to them being good, right? So they're going to get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of cases, even if they were to drop another game. But yeah, they're in a really good spot. They were the number 1 overall team a year ago, if you remember, and Ohio State beat them in the row. And now they're right back in that mix. Can
you give me a tease for the pregame show? Any big, juicy interviews you can reference or prepare us for?
It's pretty standard. I'd love to give you something electric. It's a pretty standard pregame show today. I'll have Bernsey for a couple. I think his flight made it in. He was flying out tomorrow. It's an awesome setting. I'm looking at some type of mountains or hills and pine trees for forever. It's just it's a cool setting, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too, as we say, standard Gopher football pregame show coming up at 6.
Well, you had a beautiful background. You mentioned the Enough Said show we do on Fox 9. You were obviously already out there, so you found a beautiful backdrop facing a river, beautiful greenery. It looked like there was like a walking/running path right behind you. It looked very idyllic. I mean, it was very peaceful looking, and there are still some leaves on the trees, which of course they're pretty much all gone here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not too cold. It's chill. It's a cool spot. It's a really cool spot.
By the way, Enough Said tonight will run in the middle of the night or early tomorrow morning because Fox 9 also has Gophers Oregon, as does the Fan. But Lori Fisher reminds me that the show is already up and available now via the Fox Local app, which is every bit as free as the iHeartRadio app. So we heartily recommend that folks download both if they do not have them already. I'll leave you with this question. This is from a texter. What's worse, KOC forgetting about the run game or Dan forgetting about JG? That's true. I might be boxed there. I mean, it went to my head a little bit that I wanted to talk about Joker and like Gaardsy who? So I guess now I got to look in the mirror a little bit and apologize to KOC.
And I'd argue that I'm more established than the Vikings run game, so you shouldn't forget it.
That's true.
That's what I don't know if Gerby would argue that. That's what I would.
He
argue.
would, and he did, unfortunately. Have a great sideline call tonight, and we safe travels back, and we'll talk next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Gaardsy from Eugene, Oregon. Gophers Oregon pregame show in about 30. When we come back, Lavelle Neal III. We'll have him size up. Bears, Vikings. That's next.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Brought to you by American Pressure.
All right. You're hearing the Enough Said end of the show, or towards the end of the show, music, because Gopher football is coming up. Pregame show will begin at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. So it's an 8 o'clock start Central Time tonight, the game, because it is in the Pacific Northwest. Lavelle Neal III is with us now via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. You have a lot of sources throughout the Windy City, and you have a lot of sources here. What are you hearing regarding the Bears fan influence that we might expect at the People's Stadium downtown Minneapolis on Sunday at noon?
Oh, I know for sure that there's some local, Twin Cities Bear fans who have got tickets to the game, and they will definitely be there. And Chicago's a pretty decent traveling fan base, regardless of how good or bad they're doing. So I would imagine that they're either flying or they're driving in. There'll be a handful of thousand Bears fans, I would imagine, in the People's Stadium. I don't think they're going to take it over by any sense of the imagination, but there was a very healthy Bears contingent in Las Vegas when they traveled there to play the Raiders on September 28th.
Oh, that's right. You were there for that, yeah.
I'm not expecting it to be half Bears fans on Sunday at the bank, but I think you will see and probably hear a contingent of Bears fans in the crowd cheering or booing their favorite team.
Yeah. Well, it's more likely, isn't it, when the team is doing better? The Bears fans haven't had much to crow about. And so whether they've played against bad teams or not, if you're sitting at 6-3 and have a chance to lord it over on the road and enjoy yourself a little bit, it's been a while since Bears fans have been in that particular position for sure. You and I talked about them, I think, as recently as a week ago. I think both said, I'm not sure I'm buying what they're selling. The question at some point is, even if the schedule has been pretty thin to this point, that if you keep winning and you keep finding ways to come back the way they have, does it indicate that something is starting to change there? And how much impact does that have on how things might go and how difficult a game this might be for the Purple on Sunday?
Well, I think that things have changed a little bit. It has not come all the way over to where you want it. But there is something to be said about not losing games you should win. I think Chicago fans are still, aching over how week one turned out since they left for the majority of the game. And then, number 9 popped out in the fourth quarter and led the Vikings to glory. Probably a little bummed out about that. But since then, they've been able to hold off the Raiders, come back against the Bengals, and come back again, last week. So I think that's those are encouraging things. Because a year ago, Caleb was bringing the Bears down the field in the fourth quarter, and they still weren't winning games. They barred them down the field on Thanksgiving against the Lions, and then Matt Eberflus screwed it up. He barred them down the field twice in the fourth quarter in Washington, but then Tariq Stevenson decided to jaw with fans. I believe the Bears scored 15 points in 45 seconds against the Vikings at Soldier Field. Ended up losing that game. There's a game against Green Bay. Caleb brought him in range of a game-time field goal. They got blocked. So the difference between this year and last year is that some of these fourth quarter comebacks are paying off with W's. And so it's kind of changing, attitude about the team. So, yeah, would you like to see a signature win? I certainly would like to see a signature win. But there's also something to be said about taking advantage of the opportunity that your schedule presents you.
Yeah.
And that's the Bears have done the last few weeks.
If you analyze the current condition of the Vikings and you look to their schedule, which I think includes, after this game, a 2-game road trip to Green Bay and to Seattle, aren't we pretty close to must-win category for the Purple on Sunday? You lose to the Bears, you fall 3 games behind the Bears, hardly the best team in the division, and you lose another home game, you go 2 games under 500 with 2 challenging games on the road. I mean, if you want to, insinuate yourself into the notion that this is still a team that can get in the playoff scrum, the playoff mix, you have to win on Sunday, don't you?
I think this is a must-win game for the Vikings, especially coming off of what happened, last week, and look at what's going on the next 2 weeks about the trips to Green Bay and Seattle. So I think they need this win on Sunday like they need air to breathe. And you could say that there's been a lot of injuries, and we're dealing with the ups and downs of a young quarterback. But your record, you are what your record is, and right now it's the last place record in the division. They need to start stacking wins. Now, the Bears' schedule gets tougher, no doubt.
No doubt.
And I'm cringing at the last 5 games because it goes Packers, Browns, Packers, 49ers, Lions. And that's a gauntlet.
That is.
Except for the Browns. That is a gauntlet. And, we got some Bears fans thinking they had a chance to make the playoffs. I'm still skeptical of that. I think there's too many holes on this team to say they're ready to do that. They need a more consistent pass rush. The secondary needs to be stronger. Although I raised an eyebrow today when the injury report came out, Dan. Jalen Johnson made an appearance on the injury report as questionable after not even being mentioned for the last several weeks. So apparently he's making progress from his groin strain. I wonder if that's enough for him to be on the field or not. That's
a great question. In fact, I talked with Ben about that. He still thought it was a long shot that he would play, but questionable is an interesting designation that certainly seems to open the door to the possibility. I don't know. The bad news for the Vikings, of course, is Grenard is out, and the center is also out with still recovering from concussions. The Grenard part probably hurts them, obviously, even more because of the pressure that he can create. The Bears, I think T.J. Edwards is out, which does hurt them. I think. I've been a broken record on this today, but I think this is if there's ever been a game for the Purple to try to run the ball, despite the head coach's proclivities, this is it, because the Bears have been thin against the run, and I think they'll be even thinner if Edwards, in fact, doesn't go. They have not been very good handling the run at all this season. I think they're averaging giving up more than 5 yards a run. So to me, help the kid quarterback out. Don't be afraid. And by the way, I like short passes too. A few weeks ago, our bit was the power of the completion compels you. I'm okay with, runs or short passes, because to me, sometimes they're almost synonymous. They're equal. Just make plays where the QB has a chance to sustain drives and relax a little bit, because he's not under heat because, oh my God, we're about to give up the ball again on 3rd and 12. Just keep the chains moving.
Yeah, well, here's the thing too, Dan. But you're talking about your coach who likes to throw the ball, and he's going to look at the Bears secondary situation and see Tariq Stevenson, who you can mess with. Jalen is not a lock to play. Kyler Gordon's out, and Jaquan Brisker's banged up as well.
He's questionable.
He's going to think, this is the week that I can get JJ going through the air.
That's what he's going to think. I know.
That's what he's going to be thinking. And I will tell you this, the one weird thing about the Bears defense is that, it's been leaky. And the secondary's been torched at times. Nahshon Wright, I know his stats say he's got pass breakups, he's got a couple picks, he's got a couple fumble recoveries. But it seems like a lot of times he's around the ball and is unable to make plays. And that makes him a target. So I think the one thing that the Bears have done well, 3 things. 1, takeaways. They're big on the takeaways this year. 2, they've been great on 3rd down defense, and they've been great in the red zone. And that's kind of been a buffer against the yards they've given up on the ground and through the air. So this is good. So that's going to be interesting to watch play out on Sunday against the Vikings. I think KLC is still going to be looking for chunk plays. I think you're right about running the ball more.
Yeah.
I think you got the personnel to do it. Aaron Jones looked great ever since he came off the injured list. I think you should accentuate that. But KLC, I'm not calling KLC the mad bomber, but he's a madman when it comes to wanting to throw the ball.
Pretty close. There's no question about that. What do you think we can say so far about the impact that Ben Johnson has had? Not so much in terms of whether the offense is better at the end of games or closing out drives or whatever, but just in terms of how he has run the team. Have we seen enough to think, all right, I get it. I definitely see why they coveted him, why everybody coveted him. This guy's going to be a pretty good coach.
Well, I think that the work started during training camp with getting his philosophy across and holding the offense accountable. And there was a lot to be held accountable about. Luther Burden couldn't get lineup right during walkthroughs during camp. That's how far some people have come. There were plenty of false starts and legal procedures, and that actually leaked into the beginning of the season when the Bears were getting a lot of those types of penalties. And he's been focusing on that, and he's drilled down on that, and then he also jumped on the leadership on the team. Hey, it can't always be the coach. Players have to hold players accountable too. So he's got them involved. as a collaboration in order to kind of be a little more disciplined. And it's been that way the last couple of weeks. I think Cale still has some ways to go as a passer. I still think he holds on to the ball a little too much, and I still think he doesn't let the ball rip when there's yards there. But he is better. He is definitely better from a year ago. On pace to throw for 4,000 yards, which no Bears quarterback has done. They rebuilt the interior of the offensive line, and that's kept him clean. He's only been sacked 14 times this year after being sacked a league high 68 last year. So there's some incremental steps being taken here in terms of where the offense is headed. The one corny thing that Johnson does, which I can't believe works because it goes back. I first heard this phrase in first grade about good, better, best, never take a rest. Your good gets better, your better gets best.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like something I heard when I was like in grade school.
Mm-hmm.
And that like his mantra. Like after wins, they're in the locker room screaming that thing. But it's clicking, they're embracing it, and it's working. So if the players are buying into corny stuff like that, that means they've got some respect for the head coach.
Twins hires to the staff thus far. Any thoughts, any impressions? The only thing that struck me is I'm trying to understand what point you're trying to deliver by telling people that your list of managers was 80 deep at the start. I just don't know what that accomplishes. I don't know if that's supposed to impress anybody. Maybe it was true, but I tend to think that that's always true for a lot of people. Are a lot of organizations, and you don't even bother mentioning it. When it's that wide, it doesn't really mean anything, does it? 80 people, what does that really say? Right. It sounded like showing off to me, and I don't think it impressed anybody.
I don't know, man. That corporate, collaborative, horizontal leadership crap leaks into every facet here. I sit in meetings with the Star Tribune. They're like, we want ideas. So we're all throwing stuff out, and we got 25 or 30 things on the board, and we end up starting to put them in different categories of buckets, and then we're able to whittle down to what we think are the core things we're trying to get at here. And maybe they just had a bunch of people, hey, send me a list of your 10 favorite manager of prospects, and maybe just started spitballing and start from there. I don't know if I would communicate that to the media,
right.
Even if you did do it. Because to me, it's just noise. You're making it sound like you had this super extensive search.
Yes, exactly.
And which you didn't, which no stone was unturned. But, we don't want to know how the cake was baked. We just want the cake out of the oven and the slice on our plate, So, so I do think that's a little bit overkill.
No doubt. Any impressions of the hires that have been made thus far? What strikes you?
I'm happy to see Toby Gardenhire get a shot with the Major League staff. He knows a bunch of those guys because they came through St. Paul, and maybe he has the right words and the messages for them to help them take the next step. Really happy for LaTroy Hawkins because I think LaTroy will be a really good coach. I think the totality of his career, puts him in a good spot to be effective. He's developed a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. He went from a guy who couldn't throw the ball over the plate.
Yeah.
And I remember in 2002 when they finally switched over from Dick Such to Rick Anderson. That was like a breath of fresh air to LaTroy. And they also signed Mike Jackson as a free agent pitcher, veteran guy who ended up putting his arm around LaTroy and kind of helping him get over the hump to become a quality reliever. And since then he's been with so many different organizations and has seen around a lot of pitchers. I just think his experience is going to wear off well on the pitch staff that's there. Don't know much about the bench coach, although he went to the University of Illinois Chicago, where I went to for 2 years. So it's always good to see a fellow Flamer in baseball. So we'll have something to talk about when I see him. But other than that, we have another hitting coach. That's the other thing that jumped out at me. We got another hitting coach. After we let one go, we went to the World Series with the Toronto Blue Jays. We got rid of the guy we got to replace him, and now we have a third guy. So I hope they can find someone that clicks and says the right things to get these guys going.
The new bench coach is Mark Hallberg. Is that correct?
Hallberg.
Yeah, that's just for the record. Good. Sunday column, we're running out of time here. We're against the clock. What's Sunday going to be about?
Actually, Sunday I'm actually in Sioux Falls, South Dakota right now at the the U.S. curling trials.
Oh, nice.
This is like the path to being on the Olympic team. So I'm here with John Schuster and the Peterson sisters, and I'll have curling coverage in the paper on Sunday because we don't write enough curling down.
I agree.
And I'm here to take care of that.
Why not? A little change of pace is not a bad idea. Have fun there. Appreciate the time as always. We'll chat next week. Thanks, Lavelle.
All right, Dan. Take care.
Lavelle Neal III on the road chasing the curling Olympic dream. Not bad at all. I mentioned the Denver Nuggets, the Wolves opponent Saturday night. That's another place he could have gone. They're 9-2. And again, we've tended to have the Nuggets number. Certainly postseason. We seem to be the antidote to when they were the world champions. They're better. This version of them is better. So it'll be interesting to see if the Wolves can match that as well. That is tomorrow night. So it's very busy. Wild matinee tomorrow. Well, like late matinee, 5 o'clock, correct?
Yeah.
Wolves tomorrow night. Gophers tonight. Vikings Sunday. Be a 1-hour edition of Sunday sermons. For the record, a number of people believe they heard Gaardsy toot during his bit. I don't think he was tooting. I think it was just the limitations of the line that seem to sort of imitate sounds that might be associated with the expulsion of gas.
It happens so much,
yes,
that there's no way it could have been all been.
I mean, that's. I'm not sure he's capable of flatulence on cue to that effect. So no, I know. It's just for our audience. There's just nothing wackier. Gaardsy toot on he fart on the air. Because that's what we are. I mean, we're still 12, but no. In this case, I think it was just technically speaking, there was just a little bit of sound built in from his location.
I think it was him rustling in he had a squeaky chair.
Well, that's what I thought it was too. I wasn't sure, but it sounded to me like a squeaky chair, which we occasionally have had that problem in here as well. Great guest lineup today. Great audience as always, but a great guest lineup today included. Ben Gessling at 4:30. Is that correct?
That is.
I think it was at 4:30. That's right. Gaardsy was outstanding today for the predictions segment where I've just about given up. It's all podcastable. By the way, when will winners know whether they get tickets to see Vikings Bears on the basis of the Gaardsy lock of the week?
This afternoon, they may already know. That's outstanding. Perhaps, that's a good gig if you can get it. And then, of course, Lavelle joined the last half hour of the broadcast. Sermons, then, as I mentioned earlier, will be 1-hour tour between 9 and 10 o'clock, as the Vikings pregame will be at 10. We'll be able to review the Gopher game against the Oregon Ducks, more preview of the Vikings, maybe look back on the Wolves and the Nuggets, and look back on the Wild and the Ducks. That's the Saturday game, correct? Do the Wild play Sunday, too? Do they play back-to-back, or am I wrong? I want to say they do. Yeah, they do against Vegas.
That's it. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Line for tonight for the Gophers?
Yes, thank you.
They're 25.5-point underdogs.
25.5. I thought it was even bigger than that, but that's not a good sign, boys and girls. It really isn't. It's not what you're really supposed to be, even if Oregon's better and they got NIL and we've got nothing and they've got everything. Thanks again for watching and, as I say, for listening. And Gopher football Saturday on a Friday night. The pregame show is coming up next from Eugene, Oregon. We'll talk Sunday at 9.